Hi friends, welcome to Crack Grid. We are back with yet another important lecture on the current affairs series, and we bring out to you the current affairs from the 18th and the 19th November 2021. So let's begin. Let's begin with the first news article, that is Sydney Dialogue. Right. So as you all know, Sydney is the capital city of the Australia. So our Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi delivered a keynote address at the Sydney Dialogue. Okay, and he speak on specifically India's technology evolution and revolution. So this was the topic. And the highlights of the Sydney Dialogue is the Prime Minister listed five important transitions taking place in India. So India is one of the biggest, you can say, service provider to the world. And now, when it comes to the service provider, most of it is related to IT, infrastructure, and technology, right? So, leveraging the technical knowledge or the technical experience that the country has and the people of country has, the Prime Minister has listed this transition that is happening in India. Number one, the world's most extensive public information infrastructure being built in India. Over 1.3 billion Indians have a unique digital identity. What is that? That is an Aadhaar card. 600,000 villages will soon be connected with broadband and the world's most efficient payment infrastructure, the UPI. Yes, UPI is, one of the world's best payment method, you can say, where just a mobile number is enough to send someone the money, right? Number two, use of digital technology for governance, inclusion, empowerment, connectivity, delivery of benefits and welfare, right? Yes. Three, India has the world's third largest and fastest growing startup ecosystem. So this is something very good because you see few of these startups like Flipkart, Zomato, Zerodha. So this all these things are have become unicorn. Then, fourth one, India's industry and service sector, even agriculture, are undergoing massive digital transformation. So these are the comments of the Prime Minister, right? Number fifth, there is a large effort to prepare India for the future. We are investing in the developing indigenous capabilities in telecom such as 5G and 6G. India is one of the leading nations in artificial intelligence and machine learning, especially in human-centered and ethical use. So, so all these things are being leveraged for the development of India and that are being highlighted by the Prime Minister in the Sydney Dialogue. So, let's move to the number two. India, the world's largest recipient of remittance, right? So, this is a report by the World Bank where it has said the India, world's largest recipient of remittance. So, the Indian people living out of India is, in good numbers. You see, the CEO of many big companies like Google, Microsoft, okay, once it was PepsiCo and MasterCard as well. So many big companies are being headed by the Indians. Apart from all those people, there are many Indians who are, established or working in a very good position. So in mix up. So there are people who are working in highest possible position, and also there are people who are working in the category of low to mid-level employee of any country. Maybe it's Middle East, US, Canada, Australia. Okay, you will find Indians almost in every country. So India has become the world's largest recipient remittance. It received 87 billion in 2021, with the United States being the biggest source, accounting to over 20% of these funds, right? So from the United itself, the 20% of this fund comes. India is followed by China, Mexico, Philippines, and Egypt. In India, remittance are projected to grow 3% in 2022 to rupees 89.6 billion. Okay, so this 3% is important. Reflecting a drop in overall migrant stock, a large proportion of returnee from the Arab country await return. So you see, this is the data at a time when there are huge number of people from the Middle East countries like Arab nations, okay, are back in India due to COVID, and they are awaiting their return to their workplace. Still, This data shows that India is the biggest recipient. Now, flow to India, the world's largest recipient of remittance, are expected to reach 87 billion, a gain of 4.6% with the severity of COVID-19 caseload and death during the second quarter. Right? Then this return to growth is more robust than earlier estimated as follows. So, minute this data is not so important, but what is important is expected to grow by 3% in 2022. India is followed by China, Mexico, Philippines, and Egypt. Received 87 billion in 2020. Okay, and this is the data of time when most of the people from the Arab country, okay, are in India. So let's move to the next one. RBI releases the report of the working group. What kind of working group? Working group on digital lending. Okay, including lending through online platform and mobile app on January 13, 2021. So the Reserve Bank of India constituted this working group under Shri Jayant Kumar Dash, the Executive Director RBI, as the chairman of this working group. Okay, and this working group is on digital lending. Now, why this is important? Look, there is a report that says that almost 600 apps in the Google Play Store and iOS stores offers some or the other amount of loan, right? Some got the approval, some do not got the approval. Okay, so if you remember, you might have gone through some news during or after the first COVID wave. When the nation was under the lockdown, many people did not get their salary. They could not pay to this kind of apps because not getting salary in a normal time is fine. Okay, but when the entire nation is shut down and a group of a good amount of people do not get salary, that is not normal. Okay, whatever money people had, people wanted to keep it for any future emergencies. So people did not pay to those apps. So those were very small loans, like 5,000, 10,000, and there were news that this people were sending some bouncers to those house, and they were giving some uh, ransom money to and they were doing multiple things. So those you can say that those are not approved. The kind of behavior that they have shown is not uh, what Reserve Bank of India expects and Reserve Bank of India prescribe. So this is a report. I mean, this is a working group to curb all those things under Sri Jayant Kumar Dash, who is an executive director with the RBI as the chairman of the working group. So that group has submitted its report in very recently. Okay, let's see what is there in the report. So this is the gist of key recommendation made by the working group. So let's not read it line by line. Okay, I'm not writing anything. Do take a screenshot of it, keep it with you, go through it thrice or maybe twice after 2 to 3 days, and you are done. Why this is important? Look, I don't see any question coming out in terms of MCQ. Okay, MCQ. Apart from who was the chairman, when was the committee formed, and uh, how many members did the committee had, or when did the committee submitted its report? That's it. But when it comes to descriptive, this piece of information becomes very important because this is so. If in future, let's say RBI comes out with a guidelines, or there is a question that have asked your view on it. So this would be the point that will help you to frame the answer. Okay, that would look beautiful. Understood? So do take a screenshot of it and read it twice and thrice, and you're done. Look like a separate legislation to prevent illegal digital lending activities. So a separate legislation it is asking. So in the banking regulation act, in the RBI act, RBI is already empowered to take action against this kind of people. But see, when somebody is illegally into the market, So naturally, they are not under the ambit of RBI. Then how is RBI going to prescribe them something? It can only prescribe when the regulatory preview comes under it. So when something is illegal, when something is not according to law, it is a matter of police, the the uh, the local police or the central police or something like that. They or the cyber criminal, right? So cyber police, they are going to take care of it. So the legislation is asking. So the working group is asking a separate legislation means to empowering the all the stakeholders, because if something is illegal happening in the market, the first thing is the cyber police going to come, then only the RBI will come. Okay, so this way, understand everything, read, go through it twice and thrice, and you are done. Let's move to the next scheme, that is USOF scheme. Union Cabinet chaired by Prime Minister Narendra Modi has given its approval for provisioning of mobile service in uncovered villages of aspirational district across 5 states of Andhra Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand, Maharashtra, and Odisha. Okay. So the project advises to provide 4G based mobile services in 7287 uncovered villages of 47 aspirational districts. Look, whatever I'm marking is very, very important, right? So this is one of the scheme, and again, this has become an important part because this is related to technology, also related to the central government schemes. So this becomes important. What is the cost? At an estimated cost of 6466 crore. Operational expenses for 5 years. Completed within 8 months. Right? So these are the few things. Across 5 states: Andhra Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand, Maharashtra, and Odisha. Got it? Let's move to the next one, which is Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana, PMGSY and PMGSY 2. So the what happened very recently is the cabinet has given its approval for continuation of Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana 1 and 2 up to September 2022, right? For completion of balance road and bridge work. So still there are a few works left in order to accomplish and complete that. This scheme has been continued, right? So let's move and let's see what is PMGSY 1. So this is not about the static part of the Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana. This is about the data. So again, I'm not going to read all the points. Okay, why I have placed is because I want you to take a screenshot of it, and whatever you can remember is fine, because that is natural that you cannot remember everything, every data very accurately. It's also not possible, but whatever you can remember, that's fine. Like PMGSY launched in 2000. Okay, why? Eligible unconnected habitation of 500 plus in plain areas and 250 in the northeast states as per the census 2001. The scheme also include components of upgradation of existing rural road for those districts where all eligible habitation had been saturated. मतलब जो था उसके भी मरम्मत के लिए ये scheme valid था. Okay. Now what happened in the year 2013? Decided to cover habitation of population size of 100 to 249 as per the census 2001 in the left big extremism affected blocks identified by the Ministry of Home Affairs, माने जहाँ पे नक्सलिज्म है, right? तो वहाँ पे भी ये सारे जगह को वो जगह को भी इंक्लूड किया गया है. So now see, these are the very minute data. Out of this many habitants, what happened? Not required. Okay, all these data points are not required. Now look at this line. This line is important. A total of 6,45,627 kilometer road length and 7523 bridge have been sanctioned under PMGSY 1, of which only 20,950 kilometer road length and 1974 bridges are balanced as of. So see, balance is not important, right? So this thing will be completed. If you see what is the target for the continuation, target for the continuation would be this 20,950 kilometer and 1974 bridges needs to be completed. But what is the initial objective when it was launched? This one. Okay. So if you can remember data, it's that will be very much uh, helpful when you write the descriptive. Got it? So let's see the next one, PMGSY2, Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana. This is about data. This is not about the static current affairs, which was approved by the cabinet on May 2013. So this envisages consolidation of 50,000 kilometer of existing Google road network. मतलब जो बना हुआ था उनको ही मरम्मत करने के लिए. Out of total 49,885 kilometer and 765 bridges sanctioned under the scheme, this much is left. Got it? So let's see eSharam portal, the next news article. So this eSharam portal, in every month's news article, you will find this news, right? So by now, I hope that you already know when this was launched, who has launched it, why it is launched, okay, under which ministry it is. But now again, this news article is about data. What is the data? eSharam portal has crossed 80 million registration. For the country as a whole, 51.66% of registration came from female. Of the total registration from Bihar, 56% were women. Okay, so you see, Bihar is number one. Similarly, in case of UP, 50.75% are those registered on the portal were women. So you can see somewhere it's about the equality. Only four states had lower female registration than the national average, while two-thirds of the workers belong to 18 to 40 age group, right? So this is about the data, and this data is being released in every month about the trends in eSharam portal. Now you see, this is the one of the most important point. While India had a low female labor force participation rate, it had further declined to 24.8% as per the UN Global Compact India Study 2020. More women registered on the eSharam portal than their male counterpart. Okay, so this is something that India is heading towards equality. If you see this one, you see that you know West Bengal and UP accounts for 250 of the total registration, means more people. So see, this is again good and the bad part. What is the bad part? Total registration from the state of West Bengal and Uttar Pradesh is high. This also shows that more number of labor or unregistered, informal workers are from these two states. Means these two states have failed to provide, you can say, why. Now you can think, why or how does one become a labor, right? See, in the economy, everyone is required. Every leg in the economy is important, right? Be it the Prime Minister of India, President of India, or CEO of a big multinational company, or just a labor. Okay, everyone is doing their duty. Everyone is contributing to the nation building. Everyone is contributing towards the progressive India, right? Be it the Prime Minister, be it the President, be it the CEO like Mr. Mukesh Ambani, or just a labor, right? So if you see West Bengal and UP, now you will have to think, why does a person becomes labor? Lack of opportunity, or lack of education, lack of proper health care, or you know there can be multiple reasons. So if you go by that reason, you see the West Bengal and Uttar Pradesh are those states who could not provide their citizen the reason that you have listed, while thinking how does people become labor, right? This data also shows the other picture of the story. This is how you need to think, because only when you think, now since you have time, you should give some time thinking about the the motive behind an scheme, or the benefit or the outcome, or you should be able to analyze the objective. Only then when you think, you will get to write a very good answer, right? So let's move forward. So this is the data from the RBI bulletin. So bank credit grew by 7.4% to rupees 111.64 lakh crore. Deposit increased by 11.42% to rupees 160.49 lakh crore in the fortnight index. So it is not important. Now, bank loan stood at 10.1 lakh crore, 119 lakh crore, and deposit at 144.03 lakh crore as per the RBI schedules bank statement of position in India as on November 5, 2021. So see, this is not so important data, right? But yes, you should know. This is very important global bravery risks ranking. Okay. So see, this is a report by Trace. So who is in Trace? Anti-Bribery Standard Setting Organization. Measures business bribery risks in 194 countries, territories, and autonomous and semi-autonomous region. Okay. So this report was originally published from 2014. Now, India has slipped to 82nd position in 2021 with a score of 40, 5 places down from 77th rank last year. Okay, so in this index, the the rank that is far from number one, more the farthest, the better the country is. It's like that. मैंने एक नंबर पे जो country बैठा है वो एकदम चोर है ऐसा टाइप का है, right? So in 2020 what happened? 77 with a score of 45. So now the country stood at 82nd position with a score of 44. The data showed. India far better than its neighbors. Pakistan, China, Nepal, Bangladesh, Bhutan, meanwhile secured 62th rank that the data showed. Okay, so this Bhutan has secured the 62nd rank. So the list by traces is okay, we have seen it, right? So let's see next. This score is based on four factors. Number one, business interaction with government, anti-bribery deterrence and enforcement. Number three, government and civil service transparency. And number four, capacity for civil society oversight, which includes the role of media. Means there are four indicators or four factors which are considered for listing as a score. Then, according to this year's data, North Korea, Turkmenistan, Venezuela, so these are the countries possess the highest commercial bribery. While Denmark, Norway, Finland, Sweden, New Zealand presents the lowest. Right? These are the best countries: Denmark, Norway, Finland, Sweden, New Zealand. So let's see the next one. ASER 2021. Every year from 2005 to 2020, 2014, then every alternate year 2018. So this report is being published from 2005 to 2014 every year. It was annual. Then it became alternate from 2018. AACR has reported on the schooling status of children in the 5 to 16 age group across rural India and their ability to basic reading and arithmetic tasks. The 16th ASER 2021 followed the same format of a phone-based survey as last year owing to the pandemic. So due to pandemic, the survey was done on the phone. Conducted on September to October 2021. So this is the first survey after 18 months after the first lockdown. Okay. Now, survey is conducted in 25 states. It reached a total. These things are not important. What is important is 25 states conducting in a phone-based format. This is the 16 ASER report. Started on 2005 till 2024. It was 2014. It's annual and then alternate till 2018. Let's see what is the data at India level. Enrollment in private school for children in the age group of 6 to 14 has decreased from 32.5% in 2018 to 24.4% in 2021. While that of government school has increased from 64.3% in 18 to 70.3% in 2021. So see, this is very good data you can see, but there is a factor to it. When the enrollment has increased in the government school, and this is during the lockdown period, you can say that people did not have money in their hands, so they withdrew their children from the private school and enrolled them in the government school, because although they were getting the same certificate, but they did not have to spend the money, since nobody was conducting school that time. Okay, if not even the private school, because private school, to if you keep 5 to 10 big names apart, rest all the school, private school, did not have the infrastructure and did not have the proper knowledge to deploy classes online, right? So everybody was doing it over the WhatsApp, okay, over the Zoom, and that did not go well, except few schools. So in 2020, the drop in private enrollments were accompanied by more children not being enrolled in the school rather than shift to government school. Okay, so the reason I have told you. Among the surveyed teachers and headmasters of the government school that have reopened, about 70% said that the enrollment in their school had increased. Why? Because the economy is opening, everything is returning to normal, so as the school, so as the primary and secondary education. The reason, 40% said that no studies were going on in the private school. The reason, 15% mentioned migration, 62% attributed in the shift to financial distress, about 50% ascribed it to the free facilities in the government school. So, so you can, you know, the story I told you, this data also says the same thing. Then let's see few other data. On the other hand, what happened? The proportion of children currently not enrolled in the 15 to 16 age group has been on a decline. Means this is very good. Then in 2010, the proportion of a non-enrolled 15 to 16-year-old age group considered most at risk for dropping out, which was 16.6%. This was not good for the economy. If a teenager do not go to school, he or she will not understand the world the way a person who goes to the school understand. And that is obviously not good when you consider India as a demographic dividend country. If you want to use the demographic dividend of the country, these people should have proper knowledge, because this is the people who will contribute to the mainstream economy the most. This number has been steadily declining to 12.1% in 2018, 9.9% in 2020, and 6.6% in 2021. So very commendable in terms of uplifting the drop rate or non-enroll rate of 15 to 6 year old students. Whatever may be the reason, the data is looking good. The survey also found a big increase in children taking paid private tuitions to supplement their education. So coaching will be there. Okay, so there is a fact that everyone understand that in the school one period is not enough to understand the concept. Obviously, teacher plays an important role, but this does not mean that the school do not provide or cannot provide the best of the education that a private tuition can provide. Private tuition means private. The attention is more close. The understanding, the teacher to child ratio is maybe less. So there are multiple factors. So private tuition or the coaching system will flourish, will be there for the guidance, for the for multiple reasons. So the data also shows that. Then smartphone ownership. What is about this smartphone ownership has almost doubled since 2018. That has to be because when things came online, everybody had shifted to mobile uh, and the laptop, right? The data also says the. Let's move and see more data. So in 2020, what happened? ASER found that the smartphone was bought for studies for 1 out of the 10 children since the lockdown began in March 2020. In 2021, this proportion had increased to 27.9%. Okay, so again, the data goes ahead and says that the smartphone availability is also linked to household economic status. Obviously, let's say a phone cost rupees 12 to 15,000 rupees, right? So, who can afford this extra phone in the family only for the purpose of education when the income of that particular household is good enough? Else, the phone of the parents, maybe mom or dad, is enough or suffice to, get through the online learnings. So let's move forward and see few more things. Children access to textbook. What does the data says? Has also improved in 2021 over the previous year. Around 91.9% of the enrolled children now had textbook for their current grade, an increase over previous year. Now here also you can say that many state government provide books for free of cost with a very minimum cost. Okay. But for logistic cost, they do not take it for the printing cost and any benefit out of it. They provide it for free. So again, the data looks good, can be attributed to the state government's initiative. So this few things in the chart, do take a screenshot of it, go through it, because almost important data is covered here, right? Rest for the story you will have to go through the lecture and through the slides that is there in the description. Let's move to the end of this lecture. We wish you very good luck from the team Crack Rugby. Thank you and happy learning.